has its very own unique sound, kind of a sparkly, jangly kind of a tone. And it's it's just different from the guitar. You know, the guitar has its distinct sound, and the bouzouki used in a similar way for accompaniment and rhythm playing. You know, the bouzouki just has a really rich, sparkly tone that I really like. The bouzouki is actually a Greek instrument. It's been around in the Greek culture for centuries, but the Irish adopted it and pretty much simplified it. The Irish bouzouki is definitely its own instrument, and it's tuned differently. It's used for different music, obviously. It's for traditional Irish music. So the story goes is a Irish folk singer named Johnny Moynihan came across a Greek bouzouki and thought it might work for the Irish tradition. And then he sort of developed it, used it in his band. He was playing in a couple of bands back then. It sort of just evolved with the Irish tradition that way. My name is Gil Draper, and I'm a musician, and I build traditional Irish bouzouki's here in my shop in Knoxville. Well, I grew up in Cookeville, Tennessee, and I've always been interested in woodworking since I was a small child. You know, it's just always been a part of my life. My great-grandfather started Draper Lumber Company in Cookeville about the turn of the century, of last century, and my grandfather ran that, the Draper Lumber Company up until the 1980s. I've always been interested in working with wood, and I've always wanted to build instruments. I just never really thought I could, and I got to become good friends with a local mandolin maker named Lynn Dudenbostel. He's probably one of the most well-respected mandolin builders in the world. He lives in Maryville. And I had him do some work on a mandolin of mine, and I got to go visit him in his shop and see what he does. And then I realized that, hey, maybe this is something I could do myself, and I had the woodworking experience. So one day I just decided that I would do it. I started building instruments in 2010, and I started out building Appalachian dulcimers, and then guitars, and now bouzouki's. The first thing I do is I get the raw lumber and square it up. From there, I will glue it up, you know, glue the plates together, the top and the back together, and then route out the sound hole, make the rosette that goes around the sound hole, and cut the woods to shape on the bandsaw. For the neck, I'll take my rough cut billet and trace out the shape of the neck on the billet and cut it out on the bandsaw. And that's pretty much the beginning steps of how to build an instrument, and that's the stage I am right now with the bouzouki I'm currently building. I get the wood from various sources. A lot of it is locally obtained here. I've actually been able to go out and help them cut the trees down and buck up the wood and haul it out. So some of the wood that I use, I've actually harvested myself, and even some walnut I've harvested locally here in Knoxville that I'll use for necks and backs and sides. My spruce tops come from Maggie Valley, North Carolina, and then I get the various rosewoods and other species of wood that don't grow here locally. I'll obtain from various sources. You know, I can really say that I've built an instrument from scratch when I'm using wood that I milled up from the tree and made it from the tree to the final instrument. It's quite an experience. I do enjoy the process. I think that's really important to be a really good musical instrument maker. You have to just naturally and wholeheartedly enjoy the process of building and not necessarily try to think about the finished product so much, but more about the process of building and the enjoyment you get from building and doing, the 1,000 different little steps you have to do to create an instrument. You really need to find some enjoyment in doing that process. I think it really helps to be a better builder, to be a musician and know what good tone is, and especially good setup. That's really important for a professional musician, especially to have an instrument that's really well set up, really stable and well built, and that sounds good. And so being a musician, I'm able to hear at least what I think sounds good and what I believe other musicians, other bouzouki players think sound good. So it's good to have an ear for tone. Really, I think helps be a better musical instrument maker. Every instrument I make feels like it's one of my children. And then of course it goes out to the client and goes off into the world. It takes so long and so much time to build an instrument, and when creating something like that from scratch, it's a very powerful experience, and I have a really deep connection with every instrument that I build.